Hello nerds, and welcome to another me watching my DVDs. Now, last time I left you, I had been watching The Burbs, which was a really good idea, and a slightly bad idea, because it really messed with my whole, film picking sort of malarkey. I'm running out of words already, I've just started this thing. No, but this has made every film that I choose want to be a Tom Hanks movie, basically. But I'll just watch those for me. Well, I suppose I'll watch the ones that I've watched recently again, because I don't want to get too familiar with them, so I've still got something to talk about. I'm not going to talk about this anymore. But I did choose a film to do this week, and I've chosen the next one as well, so there'll be no more confusion. And so the one that I'm doing in this episode is Jumanji, which I think is a really good choice, particularly for what this show is all about, because I think I do need a record for where I stand on Jumanji. See, I remember liking it and thinking like, oh, this is fun, but for some reason I also have a memory of this film just irking me. Just, I can't remember what it is that irks me so much. It might have something to do with that big mustachioed dude who's like running around trying to shoot Alan Parrish. It might be the character Alan Parrish, because he grows up to be all wacky, and as a kid he's so like straight-laced. And I suppose he does grow up in a mystical jungle in a board game, so that might have a direct correlation on how wacky you might be growing up. And it might have something to do with the kids being wieners at the end. Like they go through this whole adventure during the film, and then you meet them there, that they're like perfectly normal dinner party kids. You're like, wow, they got screwed in this. But yeah, it's been a long time since I've watched Jumanji. And the big thing that made me choose it, actually, was I was sitting here and I was trying to think of my next film to watch. And then I realized, oh, dude, I got Zathura on DVD. And, like, Zathura's awesome. I think I got it in a box set, possibly with Jumanji. And I'm like, oh, I could do it. I was like, I suppose I should probably do Jumanji first, because it's like the first one. I was like, yeah, but Zathura is so much better. But then I was thinking maybe that's not the best reason to watch Zathura. And now, before you attack me and say, like, oh, how are you saying Zathura is better than Jumanji? It's Jumanji in space, and it has Josh Hutcherson. So, I think I've just won the argument right there. Good old J. Hutch. I mean, to be fair, he's in the Hunger Games now as well. So, like, boom, Firehouse Dog, Shadaisy. He's the man. That Josh Hutcherson. But yeah, I remember that. So the thing is, like, I already know that I like Zathura. It's kind of less interesting to choose a film that you sort of straight up like to talk about, because coming in beforehand, I suppose unless it's something like Harry Potter where there's so much to talk about, well, for a nerd like me. And, like, Zathura isn't even one that, like, I didn't grow up with it as a child. I bought the DVD when I was 22. So, like, it's not like I'm going back, like, traveling back with nostalgia. I probably watched it hungover from my bed at one point, or lying on the sofa eating chips. But, yeah, which is still, actually, when you think of it like that, those are pretty good memories as well. But yeah, like, it's not like I'm, taken back to this magical place of childhood wonderment, which is why I feel like Jumanji probably will have a moment where I'm like right back to being a kid, because that came out the year my sister was born. And yeah, like, it just seems so cray-cray to me that it's that old. And I've seen it a few times in my process to grow up, but it was never high on my list of, like, kids' movies that I was totally into. Like, I was big into, like, Toy Story. I watched Die Hard a lot as a kid, actually. But yeah, like Toy Story and Ghostbusters and Hook. Hook was a big one for me. See, I also got into the Goonies late, but like the Goonies is amazing. I was an idiot for not watching the Goonies. But yeah, for some reason, me and Jumanji never really, clicked. Chalk and cheese or something. But I feel like we should have. I feel like we should have, and yeah. So I'm really disappointed that we didn't. One thing I think that kind of irked me as well was that Jumanji cartoon. I'm not sure if any of you characters remember this, but there was a Jumanji cartoon, and the big thing that irked me about that is that they wrapped up the story in the movie. That's all wrapped up. The kids have no memory of what happened. Alan Parrish grows up normal and has his whole life, just with this sort of 30-year memory of, it's been about 20 years, which he spent living in a board game and came out of it as a hairy man. But yeah, but that didn't technically happen to him anymore. He's now been regular Alan Parrish, little Wiener Magoo, growing up to regular Wiener man. And so the whole thing is like there's no time in the film, for fuck's sake, there's no time in the film for him to have this wacky adventure. So that means that basically he must have, gone through all the japes of the film Jumanji, gone back in time to, his normal time, then played it again and gotten the same thing of being trapped in the fucking woods again. And then those Wiener kids find it again and have a whole series of adventures. And just, that's stupid. Like, why would you play Jumanji again if the first time you played it, you spent 30 years in a jungle? That's just, that doesn't, I mean, it's good replay value, but come on, like, it's the sort of game you only really need to play once. Unless you actually have it. And I remember at school being jealous. Actually, one thing, I thought was really cool was that there was, they released an actual Jumanji board game, and I was like, oh, all right, that is pretty neat. And I saw I only ever played it once, and it just devastated me that I only got to play it once because I thought it was super neat. Maybe this is why I have, like, weird issues with Jumanji. Maybe I feel hurt, left out, cast aside, because I never got sucked into a jungle for 30 years. Although, I don't want to live in a jungle for 30 years. That would just be the worst. But, I saw, like, someone had the board game, and it had, like, a yellow thing in the middle, and, the cards have, like, nothing written on them. You have to slide them into the yellow thing, and then, it has, a way of telling you what it is. I'm pretty sure someone said it had something to do with, like, Invisible Ink and something like that. I'm pretty sure it was Dark Wizard Magic at play, because, what good is a board game of Jumanji if there's not some element of Dark Wizard Magic? It'd be great if when you bought it, though, like, they didn't give you a box, they gave you, like, a map, and you had to go and dig it up. And, that'd be neat. I don't know why that'd be neat, but it would be neat. So I'm annoyed that I never got to play the board game more, because it just seemed really, really cool, right up my alley at the time. Because I liked board games. Now I only like Monopoly, and I don't even play Monopoly. I don't actually. Yeah, what happened to my copy of Monopoly? I have Batman Monopoly, but I think that might have taken a stroll somewhere. But yeah, like, board game, that was all like, also, the cartoon, and it also, like, another thing, whenever you got a cartoon of, like, a famous movie character, not voiced by the actor, it's kind of weird, like Ace Ventura, The Mask, Jumanji, and Men in Black. All of those kind of shows always left. I was always annoyed because I was there going like, well, that's not Alan Parrish. Well, that's not Men in Black guys. What, J and K? Well, that's not Stanley Ipkiss. It just kind of irked me. And the animation style, I don't know. I suppose it was cool enough. I think I just, I'm too old. I'm too old to be kind of picking holes in cartoons and things like that, particularly ones that I haven't seen in a long time. Running based on, the opposite of nostalgia. When you look back and think like, oh, that wasn't great. So, the good thing is, starting this one, looking back at Jumanji and thinking, and having a sense of ennui, I think that's good, because it means that it's more than likely that I'm selling it short to myself, and I'll come back and be like, boy howdy. So I'm being optimistic about this, even though I've been, fucking bitching for the last 11 minutes. Right. Well, I guess I'm gonna, hold off no further, and I'm gonna go and jump into Jumanji. So, I will see you chickens soon. Okay, so, I'm back from watching Jumanji. Now, first thing I had to think of was just, it's been a while since I've watched a Robin Williams movie, and man, he's awesome. But that said, this isn't one of my favourite Robin Williams films, and coming out of it, I definitely just thinking like, oh, I really want to watch Good Will Hunting again, or Hook. Hook is probably, the highlight for me, as I said. I think I said in the first half, God, I love Hook. I couldn't find my Hook DVD, so I'm concerned. Not that I was going to do Hook soon, but just for my own peace of mind. Jumanji. Now, I have the same kind of feeling about it now as I did back in the day, which is, I like it. It's a good film. It's really entertaining. It's full of wackiness and japery, tomfoolery, hijinks, cavorting, rabble-rousing, and troublemaking, and mischief. But, it has all the ingredients for a delightful, fun-filled, laugh-out-loud family romp. Or laugh-out-loud romp that is fun for the whole family, I think is better way to put it. Is a better way to put it. But there's just something that doesn't click with me. And, the thing is, now I kind of watch it, I'm like, this, I sort of like it a bit more because I'm not trying to click with it, but it's not like watching something like The Faculty even took me back to a different sort of state of mind where it just reminded me of, of relating to it, and watching Jumanji as a kid. I think what it is because the movie's not really, the kids aren't really, relevant to the story. It's all about Alan, it's all his, reflections when the whole thing of his daddy issues are, him projecting onto the other kid. The other kid doesn't have a problem with his parents, except that he's dead, that Peter boy. Whereas it's Alan who's kind of later on being like, gee willikers, I've become this sort of character. Which is pretty, deep and cool, but, that wasn't really something that I could relate to as a boy, particularly looking at a grown man. Even though, it's Robin Williams' child at heart running around being wacky and all that jazz. And he does a great job of it, but still, it just, I think that was the thing, is when I was a kid, I didn't really find anything to connect with it. So it was just this wacky, fun movie. But I preferred ones where, I felt sort of more of a kind of, or something, I think it's a character that would have been more my age that I could relate to. Even though there's Peter, he cheated at board games and turned into a monkey. And I wasn't a board game cheat, and I never turned into a monkey. So, I was like, screw this guy. I always thought that kid was weird anyway. But, but still, it's really good. It's like, the way I think of it is like a better sort of, it's the 90s version of Night at the Museum. Except, thank God it doesn't have Ben Stiller.
No, to be fair, the first Night at the Museum movie was fun. I haven't seen any of the others, but the first one was fun. But I'm not here to talk about Night at the Museum at all. I'm here to talk about Jumanji. I believe I made a couple of notes. So, I mean, I kind of have to now because otherwise I get a little scared and overwhelmed. So basically, right. Now, the first thing that I thought of was, the funny thing with Jumanji is, like, the whole film is one playing of the game. And then I was thinking, I was talking about the cartoon again, and, they play it more and more and more. But, that sort of, at some point it would be just like old hat. I was thinking, like, we've all played Monopoly to the point where, like, you sort of, when you do it, it's not to play Monopoly. You're not sitting there. It's like you do Monopoly while you have a conversation or with other people and eat chips and do something. You don't focus on the game Monopoly. So I wonder if, like, there'd ever be a point of Jumanji where you'd be like that, where like, oh, should we just, like, have a crack at Jumanji, while we're waiting for the pizza guy? Yeah, sure. And you're just rolling away like socking spiders and things in the face. But I guess that's not really an interesting thought. In fact, it's kind of stupid. I suppose if you didn't really pay attention to Jumanji, you'd die. If everyone dies playing Jumanji, does it go back? Or is that just it? You're just stuck in that reality? I don't know. First thing, I suppose it's the second thing. But the actual movie, starting off with the crappy 90s Goosebumps kind of intro, like the special effects being so 90s, it's amazing it's such a blast from the past that back then it was like, wow, it's all green and smoky, and then there's like fucking all this stuff happening later in the film, and nowadays people can do better things with just their regular sort of computers straight off the shelf. The way special effects has changed is ridiculous. So the board game itself, is buried in like 18 Dickety 2 by Caleb and Benjamin, and what happens if someone finds it? May God have mercy on their souls. But Caleb and Benjamin, like, I get it. They've played the game. It's a bad game. There's no good juju to come from it. Or it's bad juju. There's no good to come from it. And so they're like, right, let's do something good. And let's bury it. I get that. But later in the film, when it's found and discovered, they buried it in a chest, which is, again, I can understand that, because, like, you put another lock on it, then it just makes it that much harder for someone else to kind of play. It's like first they have to find it, dig it up, and then it's like, all right, now I have to go to the effort of breaking the chest open. And it's like, okay, that's good. They did the right thing. They're being clever with this. But then in the box, they filled it with sand. That just makes their job harder. Like, no one's gonna, like, open a chest of sand and then not empty the sand. And it wouldn't be hard to empty the sand. You just tip the box over. It just makes it harder for them to actually physically take it to the location they want to. Because they brought it out in their wheelbarrow. Like, they didn't fill it with dirt when they got there, because it wasn't dirt, it was sand. So they actively got sand and put it in the board game. I suppose it did have a cool effect when you take the sandy board game out because of the ridges on the box, but that's a lot of effort for dramatic effect. It's enough of a dramatic effect to dig a treasure chest out of the ground and find a magic board game that's going to turn your life upside down. The sand is unnecessary, I mean, it's a nice touch. So I suppose maybe they just thought, like, that would be cool, So they put that effort in. So well done, Caleb and Benjamin. And then you get to Alan Parrish anyway, or at least before he's found the box. But, you got Alan Parrish, who grows up to be Robin Williams in the board game. But, like, I've always thought that he was a weird-looking kid. I remember even as a kid thinking, like, his whole body is just disproportionate and wrong. Like, it's like if you ask someone who had never seen a human before, and, like, you showed them a puppet of a human and said, like, now, I want you to, clone a human using all this. No, I don't know. It's like, yeah, someone. He looks like a person based on a puppet, based on a person. You know, so he doesn't look like a puppet man. He doesn't look like a man puppet. He looks like a man based on a puppet man. You know, he's a strange looking dude, and he also has a bit of that case of man face that I was talking about with Corey Feldman, and it makes sense because like I don't think we've ever seen him again. Like he looks like he's wearing a toupee. That kid must. I bet he's balding. In fact, I kind of get the feeling that he's actually a little man. But that doesn't matter, you know. I've got to stop just focusing on the weird-looking people in these movies. Although Sarah Whittle had a massive nose as well. Like, you know, just the kids from the 60s are just weird-looking. Big nose and puppet man. I love the level of bullying, though. Like, how open the bullies want to beat up little Alan Parrish and riding through the streets, and they're openly threatening him. And so many people are in the streets as watching it and kind of boys will be boys. Then he goes to his dad's workplace where a gang beat up his bike and then him and then steal his bike. And he tells his dad, there's guys outside wanting to beat me up. And his dad's like, boys will be boys. But, you know, he gets his butt kicked and then starts hearing the drums. And, you know, wanders onto a construction site where there are still people working. And, not one of them thought, like, this kid shouldn't be here. And then he digs in the construction site and finds the game. And, you know, it's just like, it's a bad message to kids. You should always wear a hard hat. If you're going to go looking for magic board games and construction sites, wear a hard hat. I just don't get why it was buried in a box of sand, though. Other than dramatic effect, I'm not going to get hung up on that. I'm not. And and then he goes home and starts talking to, you know, his dad, who's all like, "Oh, well done for taking your beating like a man. I'm going to send you to an all-boys school as a reward." That's not really, you know, that's not something you need to be rewarded for, taking a beating. You know, you shouldn't have to take a beating. But if that's your reward, that's, like, really a crap reward. Like, because clearly, you know, he's not one of the boys. So there's a good chance he'll go and just take more beatings, which sucks for Alan Parrish. You know, like, that would not be something that... You don't get to live in your house anymore. You have to go off into a rural area with, you know, rich guys, like a bunch of rich dudes your age who... You know, well, like, might have less of a sense of consequence because they can get away with anything because they're rich. But boys will be boys, and you know, I guess Alan Parrish will get his butt kicked. And but his dad, like, his dad's a hilarious character, and sort of like, I mean, I kind of wish he was more of a tool, like Vernon Dursley, but you know, he's just kind of a tool. But he's also, like, British, is he? Like, he's so English. Or is it just that rich people, no matter where they're from, just start sounding British? I hope that's the case. You know, you can sort of... I suppose if you get really poor, you can sound British as well. But it all depends on, like if you're extremely rich and extremely poor. Because the poorer you become kind of cockney, sort of... All right, hey kid, you want to see a dead body, kind of thing. And maybe and then when they get rich, they all of a sudden become very, smoking a pipe. Alan, well done. We're going to send you to Whip Whittle's School for Boys. It's like no one. Why does that happen? Where does that come from? Like it's an American, because this guy went to this school as well. We're going to send you to this school. I went to this school, and my father went to this school. It's like. You went to this school, like, in America. Is it in America? I suppose I should look into that. You know, whatever that fucking boys' school is. I'm just assuming, because the whole film's set in America. He's an American boy. They have a big fucking American shoe fucking factory. And so, I mean, I'm just going on a hunch here. Sorry, I just decided to have a gander there. You know what, fuck it. There's no point looking. I'm going to look into that. Actually, if someone else can look into it for me and let me know, that'd be great. I might do a bit myself of research if I can think of it. Are they trying to send him to England? Maybe I should pay more attention to the movies I'm watching. Because I'd feel a lot better knowing that, he's half Brit than his dad is a wanker who's like just decided to start sounding British once he made a bunch of money. And then that's about the time Sarah Whittle rocks into the film anyway. After that malarkey, with her big nose sticking it into Alan's business as he's trying to run away. The big reason I give her such a hard time there is because like her boyfriend is beating him up because of her. Well, because you're talking to my girl and all that, and she's all like, "Hey, don't beat him up." And I'd like to think she came down on him pretty hard. Especially if she's going to go over and hang out with him. Is she just hanging out with him because he's rich? Like, come on, Sarah Whittle. I suppose you don't have to pick a side, but maybe that bully is like, maybe he's a nice guy when he's not beating him up. There might be like he does a lot for charity, but he's like really misunderstood. Has a hard home life. I don't know what it is, but I'd like to, even though I suppose he ends up with the girl in the end, but he also ends up super rich. So maybe Sarah Whittle's just all about that. Those Benjamins. She's got a long-term plan. The bad boy while she's young, and the rich dude when she's older. But yeah, I don't know. She gets kind of the good end of the stick though, because like she gets a whole life and then sort of gets to do it all again. Meanwhile, like, because Alan's second life is just not in the jungle. But yeah, so I'm kind of just going through a blow by blow of what happened. Really, I'm not really talking. That's the thing. That's kind of what Jumanji is. Like, it's not really a movie where you talk about like, oh, the vibe, the feel of this bit was great. I'm not talking about like any of it that spoke to me because it didn't really speak to me. It was all just kind of like a series of wacky events. And it's not that they're bad wacky events. It's just that they don't resonate for me in any kind of way. It's not a special film to me. It's just a fun movie, and that's okay. Not every film needs to kind of have some story behind it, some kind of deeper meaning, but I guess that's kind of why I do this, to find the ones that sort of have that impact for me, and sort of try and figure out what it is. That vibe. More baby in this film after the faculty. It's good to see her again. I love the special effects in it because they're terrible. Like, you got the crappy looking lion, you got the shitty monkeys, the worst spiders we've ever seen, ever. And it's such a fantastic level of 90s special effects that you put on a DVD and they're just the worst. They're probably even crap back then. But, well, no, I'm just being a dick. But, yeah, it's great to see all that kind of special effects in one film. The last thing I think I put on was Independence Day, where I was looking at crap special effects. Well, I didn't finish that, but, I probably should go back and watch it again. Actually, that's a good one. I should remember to put that on this list because, that I haven't paid attention to that movie since it came out. I bought it on DVD. I'm not even sure if I watched the DVD because I saw it in cinema. If I can way back when. And Jinkies, yeah, I need to definitely rewatch that in the spirit of me watching my DVDs. Oh, that Peter kid. He's such a weird looking kid. Sorry, it's just another note that I made. I thought that he looked like John Cusack's mini-me. That's the only way I thought to describe him. He just looks like a tiny clone of John Cusack who turns into a monkey. I don't know why, but, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm crazy, but that's just what I get. I also thought it was funny that, like, in true dickish cat form, like, the second the lion shows up, before he does anything, he walks on the piano and just mashes all the keys. And that is, like, having cats myself, that's so spot on, of just dickhead cats just making noise, walking on keyboards, pianos, whatever it is, just being inconvenient. I thought that was a nice touch. Stupid orphan children. Yeah, there's nothing special about the kids. One of them lies and one of them didn't talk. And that whole not talking thing disappeared pretty quick when fucking crazy Peter Pan rocked up. I like to think that it was, Alan Parrish is like the same guy from Hook. It's just he comes back from Neverland and no one believes him. And then maybe he never actually went to Neverland. He just went crazy. Was like living in his parents' attic for like 20 years and then hangs out with children. I'm never growing up, see? You could do like a whole fucking... It could be like the sequel to The Fisher King or something like that. Not the... yeah. Pan and Me, something like that. It's like K-Pax meets Jumanji meets The Fisher King. And pretty much... I suppose they're all those own movies themselves, aren't they? I love the creepy man at the start of the film, like the South Park character. Like, a lot of the history in this house, the old Parrish murder. That's always fun in a movie. But again, it's like, I'm giving you some backstory, kids. Here's what, let us fill you in. And so you can tell him later that his dad went crazy, right? Actually, they don't even tell him. They know all this stuff and they didn't tell him. They let him go talk to some mysterious hobo who lives in the old factory. I think the thing that I enjoyed most about this movie was the policeman and the destruction of his vehicle and how he kept trying to drive it. David Alan Grier was the policeman, and he was hilarious. And then he drives around in his car that keeps getting progressively more and more destroyed. I don't know why. I just really liked that gag. And then it all... I'm really, I guess disappointed. Well, I'm not disappointed. Like, I had fun watching it, but that's it. It's not a movie that I think about at all. I haven't taken anything away from it. The only other sort of observations that I had was that when they're being pulled in, they finish the board game, it says Jumanji, and everything gets turned back to normal from when they started the game. So it goes back to the fucking, 70s or some shit. And it's like, what if that alternate reality was better? Because, alright, in the new one, Alan has a full life. The girl doesn't go to, therapists. And Judy and Peter seem to keep their parents. But what if, in the other one, that's that whole butterfly effect thing. What if just, the Alan Partridge being missing, inspired some change in the world that led to, a better place with less poverty and less world hunger, more cures for diseases, things like that. And you keep yourself up all night just thinking, what if they got it wrong? And Peter and Judy, they don't get to remember the experience at all. So it's all down to just, Alan and Sarah Whittle. So the other two... okay, I'm sure they'd prefer to, have living parents and forget the whole sort of malarkey. But it's still very likely that their parents died. Because they come over so Alan can hire them as a man. And then they're like, oh, well, we want to go to Canada, which is where they were supposedly... which is where they died in a car crash years later. And he screams at them, no. And then his wife's all like, oh, we need you to work for us as soon as possible. And he's like, oh, yeah, that sounds great. In his head, he was thinking, fuck no, I'm going on that vacation because fuck you, psycho. I'm not going to fucking come work for a crazy guy who invites me to a party and screams at me and tells me to start work tomorrow. Fucking fuck yourself. That's hugely inappropriate. Of course he's not going to work for you. So by that, I'd say that, it's all, the only difference is his parents are going to die. Sorry, no, his parents. Fucking Peter and Judy's parents are going to die, and then they're not going to have the nice big parish house to move in. So they're going to live in some small estate somewhere and just fade into obscurity. So that's pretty much all I got from Jumanji. I really thought that, I was hoping I'd get more. I mean, again, it's great to watch, Robin Williams running around because, his antics know no bounds. But overall, I feel a bit sort of disappointed. The more I talk about it, the more I feel a bit disappointed, because the more I realize that I have nothing really to say about it. I mean, everything I said there was just a list of things. I can't remember the first time I watched it, and it's not a movie that I came back to religiously. Like, it's not a movie that, there's a lot of movies that I've rewatched like a bazillion times. Jumanji's not one of them. I've probably seen Jumanji enough times to count in one hand. I don't know. And that's, for me, that's saying something. That said, I don't want to take any credit away from it, because it is one of those movies. Like, I mean, I can't fault it. I can't, pick any, like, serious holes in it and say that it's not good, because it is good. It's fun. And I've found it, like, it's engaging. You're entertained the whole way through. It's got a good story, a good solid story. But just something from it. There's just some element of it for me that's just missing. That it stops it from being, like a classic kids movie to me. And or at least one of the important ones to me. So I feel kind of like I've let Jumanji down a bit, but I feel like it let me down a bit too. And I'm hoping that I don't have this same issue with Zathura when I come to that. Oh, well, that was slightly more of a chore than I expected. I was really clutching at straws there. So next time, I'm going to try and pick a film that, I'm going to go in a bit of a different direction, because I did this and I did The Burbs, and so it's kind of like a comedy after Mean Girls, which was, again, another comedy. And I started with Corky Romano. So I think that next time around, I was thinking I could go all serious or something and do, like... But I thought, I don't want to do serious. Nothing too, like, fucking real and depressing or anything like that. But I thought, it'd be a good chance to kind of bring in something, a bit different. And so I decided that in the next episode, I'm going to talk about Battle Royale. Because I have not seen that movie since I moved to Ireland, which was about 8 years ago. So, and I've seen, I watched it a shitload of times in high school, because it was fucking awesome. And I just thought that, it's been a long enough time. I remember it fondly, but how well am I remembering it? Maybe I'm going to come back and say it stinks. I don't think so, though. I'm looking forward to that. And it's me doing my first kind of foreign film, and it's a bit more of a different... bit of a different vibe to the rest of the films that have been going on, because most of these have been pretty family friendly, like from the word go. Like the most fucking out there film I've watched so far is The Faculty, and that's like PG or something like that, M15 if you're in Australia. But that's pretty. It's, as far as horror movies go, it's pretty tame. Not to take away from it, because it's fucking awesome, but it is pretty tame. So yeah, I think Battle Royale is going to be the next one. I'll probably knock that one out soon enough. I doubt we'll be waiting too long for it. But yeah, and I think I would like to get back to Robin Williams sooner than Tom Hanks, because I feel like I'd like to do another Robin Williams one where I come out of it, one that's kind of means more to me, I think, than Jumanji did. Because I do like Jumanji, but I still prefer Zathura, at least in spirit. At least I remember preferring Zathura. So maybe next Robin Williams movie I'll do will probably be something like Good Will Hunting or Hook or Toys or... Yeah, I don't know. There's so many to choose from. You can choose one if you want. I might not listen, to Giles or Curran, whoever it is that actually listens to this, about 4 guys who I got some positive feedback from them, so thanks, guys. This is probably the one where they stopped listening. This is awkward. Anyway, So, I'm going to leave you there, because I have nothing more to say, really, in typical me fashion. So, tune in next time. I'll be talking about the movie Battle Royale. I've been Tommy. I am Tommy. This has been me watching my DVDs. Take care, lovelies.